Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? It's good to see you. Glad that you're here. Having a little difficulty again with my Instagram. Guess I started it too early. But I'm so excited today that we're here with Mike Cullens Johnson. And, Mike has had a story that I think that is uh, needs to be heard. He has a story. He has a story of a journey that he's gone through in his life, and I asked him if he would come on and share his story. But let me say first, my name is Leslie Montgomery. You are listening to LKM Kingdom Living, Leslie's Lessons Learned. And we're so happy that you're here today with us as we get started. And, I wanted to, I don't know when to show the video, but Mike, before we even get started, can you take a moment and just tell us a little bit about you and whose husband you are? I don't know what happened, but your screen just went all white.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, can't see you, but can hear you.
I have no idea what happened with that. Give me 1 second. Let me reset my camera.
Okay.
That's strange. I've never had that happen.
You want to go out and come back in?
Um, Give me 1 second. Let me just kind of reboot this thing here. Hmm. Give me 1 second.
Sure. So, those of you that are joining us, I'm so glad that you're here today. I'm so glad that you've taken time to join us. And I want to say thank you so much. Hey, Afrida. And as you come in and as you sit and listen, Michelle, how are you? To Mike's journey, which I'm so excited about every time I listen at his videos. And, while he is, I'm going to show one video while he's working on that and then probably show you a couple of more. But uh, let me just kind of go through and, of course,
To go through hell, worse than any nightmare that you ever dreamed. But in the end, I know you'll be the one standing. Now you're gonna have to go through hell, worse than any nightmare that you ever dreamed. But in the end, I know you'll be the one standing.
that is just a ring reel that Mike has done. He's on this journey of back to health. And Mike had cancer. And in the process of it, we all have kind of went through the journey with him. And to see him go from being in the hospital, he kind of showed us his journey as he went along. And from him being in the hospital until now, it is miraculous, I must say. He has been blessed. He has come back to, not to, I won't say come back to his normal self, but he has been able to go through a process that a lot of people never come through. So one of my desires is that we would encourage different people that have experienced different things and have them come on to encourage other people and let them know that they can come through it too. So even in the process of him making a tremendous comeback, he had already, I'm going to say, started the journey. And why did I say he started the journey? He ate healthy, he exercised, he did a lot of things to help his body to respond differently. A lot of times we don't want to do those things that we need to do to cause our bodies to respond positively. So as we go through this process, hopefully he can come back on and join us. But as we go through the process, I want to say if you haven't hit the like sign, if you haven't subscribed or share, please do so now. Mike is also doing a fundraiser to help with the cure. I'm not going to try to say it because I'm about to mess it up.
No,
Mul-
it's multiple myeloma
right,
is the name of it. Yeah.
multiple myeloma. And part of his journey is he'll be going to California to do, I think it's a week long race um, for the cure. So we're also asking that if you find it in your heart, that you would also donate for this cure. And I just think it's amazing how he's been training for this. Um, be nice if I show you guys. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to my camera, Leslie. It's like let me log out, like you say, and
That's
come back
fine.
in. Okay,
That's fine.
give me 1 second.
So it's called Team for Cure, and it's a road to victories. And these are all people that have come through and have conquered or uh, is in a place that um, they're supporting for the cure. Accelerated progress in multiple myeloma. So I wanted to show everybody that, and I will show it again. And I want you to also just encourage him to continue to do what he's doing. It is a great thing that, and I haven't even shared this, it's a great thing that he's desiring because he's gone through it. You know, uh, Michelle can vouch for this more than I can. That when you go through that, the victory on the other end. So a lot of people never make it. One thing I notice about um, when someone says that someone has cancer, the first thing everybody automatically thinks is they're going to die. That's the first thing that comes to people's minds. And we have people that have survived all types. And with the process of surviving, I think that is appropriate that they share their stories. So I have a few other people coming on as well. And as they share their story, I want them to share their story because I want you to know that there's still hope. I want you to know that just because you have been diagnosed with that, it does not mean that you're about to lose your life. That does not means that your life is over. So hey, Mike, you're back.
Hey, yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. Let me see. Okay, that looks better. So, Mike, uh, if you could just take us to the beginning of your journey and just tell us what that experience was like for you and how you came from that point to this point. What was your mindset? What happened when you found out, of those type of things? And then one thing that I think that was really amazing is how Alicia said that Yahweh, which is which is God, told her to make you a doctor's appointment,
Hmm.
and the timing of everything and how it all came together. So if you could kind of just take us back down memory lane as much as you want to go
Right.
and bring us up to.
So I was probably about a month ago. I was just really thinking back to like when this all started, and I really like to go back to 2021. I wasn't diagnosed until actually, I'm sorry, it may have been 2020. I was diagnosed in 2022, but in 2019, well, actually, let's go back a little further. 2015 is when I started cycling. And cycling has been a big part of my life. Um,
So wait a minute before you go any further.
mhm.
So you started cycling in 2015, and Alicia started uh, go, pretty much um, 12 in 2015. So both of
Yeah,
y'all had something taking place
yeah,
um,
yeah,
at
yeah,
the same time.
yeah. I've never thought about it that way, but you're right. It has been that long. So back in 2015, I started cycling, and just off of a invitation from a friend of mine who said, "Hey, you know, I have this cycling community. Why don't you come out?" And at the time, I had this old rinky-dink bike that had been sitting in my shed for years, and had never really ridden a bike since I was a teenager. Hadn't even thought about it. This bike was really just taking up space in my shed, probably close to being trashed. So I went out, and it started. You know, that weekend led to another weekend, which led to another weekend, and we would ride pretty much from spring all the way throughout summer. And each year it turned into something bigger. So I, of course, graduated to new bikes, bigger bikes, and fast forward, and then in 2021 we were out early spring just doing some training rides, and witnessed like one of the most horrific accidents that I've ever seen or been close to, where we actually saw two pedestrians um, hit and ran over pretty much, and the person who did it fled the scene, never stopped, never did anything. So I was traumatized. My friends and I were traumatized. They were in back of me at the time, so they saw it and I heard it. And after that happened, and this was like as COVID was starting up. Um, After that happened, I pretty much put my bike on the shelf, because I was really scared to. There was a fear of riding outdoors. So COVID happened. Once COVID set in, we stopped doing the group rides, just really just kind of everyone stand to themselves. So for me, when you're asking about this journey, for me, as crazy as it sounds, it started right there. Um, Not necessarily the cancer part, but the the isolation, the fear, and all of the stuff that came from that accident that I saw
Yeah.
started a process that I'm just starting to pick back up.
Wow.
So COVID happened, and I was actually working at the time. We went through that period of you know just dealing with COVID. I actually caught COVID. Forgot what year
Oh,
it was. I
did you?
caught it, and wasn't too bad. But I want to say 2021 is when I caught it, and that was around the time that no, it was probably it was 2022, early 22, when Alicia
Mhm.
had made doctor's appointments for us. So the other thing that happened and that I really didn't consider at the time was I was a real big runner. So for what I could not do on the bike, and that fear of being out on the road on the bike turned into me just continuing to run. Um, and I noticed when I would run from time to time that I had this fatigue, this heavy fatigue that would set in. And, I would run a half a mile and it would feel like I had ran 5 miles.
Wow.
So, never really thought much of it. I'd figured it was all a part of just not really being in condition to run since I had been doing so much biking. So, Alicia made the doctor's appointments. I went in to see the doctor for just a regular old physical, and I want to say it was October of 2022. Completely new doctor, but when I did that visit, she told me something doesn't look quite right with your labs. Um, you know, I want to have you see someone, or I want to send you to someone and have them look at it as well. And I, honestly, really didn't think much of it because again, I felt good. Yeah, I was eating good. I was exercising. I was doing everything that I normally do. And she sent me to, and this is how much I just was completely unaware what was going on. She recommended that I go see a a cancer doctor. Um, so I went to the doctor, not even really knowing what type of specialist it was, and he sat me down and said, "Hey, looking at your numbers, you know, you know, he told me it could be a couple of things, and he said it could also be multiple myeloma." And I'm like, "Oh, okay," not knowing what multiple myeloma was because I'd never heard of it, and it didn't sound like anything that was like aggressive
Like
or
just
scary at the
threatening.
time. So I'm just like, oh, and I asked him what that was, and he said cancer, and that's when I sat up in my chair and I was like, what? And he said, I want to send you out to get some scans and some different tests, and I'm just like, well, yeah, we can do that because I know I don't have cancer. I mean, I had at that point checked that off my list because I'm like, yeah,
Right.
no, it can't be that. Um, So he sent me out. I did a whole series of tests. I went back to see him, uh, and he told me that he's 90. I think he said I'm 95% sure that it's multiple myeloma.
Wow.
So floored, floored, and and to actually to make it 100%, he had to schedule me for what they call it was a bone marrow biopsy. So by this time, I want to say it was around November, so we
Uh-huh.
were getting close to the holiday season. So, I got all of the tests done, and of course, it came back that I did have multiple myeloma. And I'll never forget sitting in his office and him telling me that this is what it is, and this is what we're going to need to do. And he walked me through the treatment and everything, kind of told me what to expect, all at the same time. And I remember being in this like fog. He told me what it was, and it's like my entire life, it was almost like I went into this matrix. So he's talking to me, and it's coming in one ear and it's going out the other, and totally caught off guard. It was an appointment that I really probably should have taken Alicia because after that appointment, I drove home, and I remember that being like one of the longest rides of my life. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what the heck has happened? How did this happen? Why did this happen?
Yeah.
What will I do? I had my my funeral. I had all of this stuff planned throughout my head. It was
Yeah.
like
I get it.
so.
Yeah.
I got home, and I told Alicia what was going on, but it was almost as if I came in. It felt like I came in, threw my keys down, took my clothes off and got in the bed. And I lay there um, and felt that had the thought that I could just sleep this away. This was some crazy dream, and I would sleep it off and wake up and
It'll
someone
all
would
be
shake me and
over.
say, "Yeah." So of course it didn't, but I lay there for what felt like a couple days. I would get up, I would use the restroom, I would eat and do those things, but I pretty much stayed in the bed for a couple days. And I distinctly remember being there on that. It seemed to be 2 or 3 days later, and I remember the voice coming through and saying, "Mike, get up. You know, laying here is not going to help you. You need to get up, stop moping around, and continue to move." Um, and of course, I did. It still took a long time to really get into the motion or into the mindset that I am today. But that was the beginning of God just letting me know that there's purpose in this. as crazy as it sounds, as painful as this diagnosis is, there's something that I'm supposed to do. So that was, I want to say this is November. I think it was the end of November, going into December when all this was happening. And I didn't start my treatments. I was, you know, part of the treatment plan was 4 months of chemotherapy and a stem cell transplant right after that. So I didn't start my chemotherapy until it was mid to late
It was a
January.
minute.
Yeah, and I think it was late January when I started that. So and I was very skeptical about doing chemotherapy. I had heard so many different things about it, and how it would make me feel, and all of these things. So I really did not want to do it, but I knew at the same time that I wanted to live. So however that looked, I wanted to give myself the best possible chance of survival, and not just survival, but long term life. So we went for it with the chemotherapy, and it was rough in the beginning, but I got used to it. I adapted to it. I was doing chemotherapy once a week, and what else was it? It was chemotherapy. Yeah, chemotherapy once a week, and it was probably about an hour each session. So 4 months of that, um, and then I was also taking the chemotherapy. Chemotherapy looks different for people, for a lot of people. For me, it was actually sitting in that chair and taking the chemotherapy, but it was also some pills that I was taking daily. But at the end of that, in June, I think it was June the 24th, that I went into the hospital for my stem cell transplant. And I was in the hospital for, I think it was 12 or 13 days
But wasn't
doing.
it supposed to be longer?
Uh, they had said it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks or something like that. I'm not sure what would the number of days they were expecting me to be in there for like 20 days or something like that.
Right.
But thank God it wasn't that long. It was 12 days. When I did the math, and of course after the stem cell transplant, it's just been recovery since that time. One of the things with I think, honestly, let me go back thinking about that process, the stem cell transplant plant
Uh-huh.
process. I think that's the point when I realized that this process that you're going through is shaping and molding you, and preparing you for something greater. Um, not in the sense of like monetary stuff and money and all that. I'm
Right.
not talking
Right.
about that. I'm just talking about it's
Your
preparing you
purpose.
for purpose. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you think about it, a lot of times we don't take that into consideration that there's the reason why we go through things a lot of time is, well, it's for us to get from one point to the next point. What's the best way to say that? Uh, it's not always what we expect. And
Hmm.
we're like, you never expected that. I'm sure it never even crossed your mind that that might even be a part of your life story.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I think we're given different cues and clues about our purpose throughout life, and for me, I can honestly say there was a period in my life that you know I kind of was on the fence. I thought I knew what it was one day, and then the next day was like, yeah, not too sure. This situation, this diagnosis, was something that literally shook me and and gave me my purpose and told me my purpose. It has been developing all throughout this journey, but at the point of the transplant, I think it started to become crystal clear what
Mm.
this was about. It really did. So after the transplant, um, I came home in July. I don't know what date it was, but I guess it was like the middle of July of last year. And it took me a while to get myself together because when I came home, I was still in a space. If you haven't heard about or know about a stem cell transplant, it pretty much strips your immune system.
Yeah,
So um,
something.
I was in the hospital for 12 days. The On the second day of that visit, they gave me a very, very, very high dosage of chemotherapy, which only took maybe 40 minutes for them to administer, but it was extremely high. It was a high dosage. It was much higher than the chemotherapy that I had received early in the year.
That's
So
right.
this was the one that knocked my hair out and everything. So on that second day, I got that. The third day was the actual transplant. So leading up to the hospital, going into the hospital, they pull all of your bone marrow. They went through the process of pulling all that out, and I had to do injections to grow new stem cells, and all of that turned into. Well, let me say this: they collected all of that. They froze it and they kept it for I guess a week or so. So on that third day in the hospital, they actually returned that those stem cells back to me after the chemotherapy. So fast forward again, when I got back home, it took a while to get back into just a normal flow. I was tired all the time, fatigued. My appetite wasn't where it was. I would get dizzy a lot. So it was a lot of sleeping. It was a lot of me just lying around, just looking like I was lazy. But
You felt that way.
I felt that way. But
Yeah.
Alicia had and has been, I shouldn't say had been, has been an angel, my angel throughout
Oh,
this process. Um, you know, she she of course saw everything that I was going through, but the love, the care, and everything, the support that she provided throughout this process, um, I couldn't have asked for anything more.
yeah,
We always talk about the story of Alicia and I's story and how where we came from and forgiveness and all of that other stuff. And
right.
we always say that had we not done that work, this experience with multiple myeloma and trying to recover from that would have went a completely different way because recovery would have been completely different.
Well, I'm just going to be showing some different uh, things as you go along. But
Mhm.
for those of you that don't know Alicia, this is Alicia and Mike in one of their shootings. So I just want you to know that this is the big mama right here.
He said a big mama. Yeah. So fast forward to today. Well, let me go back a little bit. Um, I started feeling normal again. I guess it was around the holiday season again, and around that same time, I I was reading something and it gave me the idea of first getting on my bike again, and secondly setting a goal of riding my bike across the country. And it sounds easy. It sounds like this was a process of me saying that this is something I want to do. So after I said I'm going to train to do that, um, I started looking for rides that I can do. I have never rode my bike for probably more than 60 miles at a time. So I went out and I found what we call a century ride, which is the 100-mile ride. So I'd found a century ride in Delaware that is. actually scheduled to happen this September.
Right.
So I had signed up for that. And of course, in the process of, you know, just doing my normal thing, training for that, and beginning to get myself and starting to get myself back to a normal life, I was contacted by the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, the MMRF as they go by, and yeah, and they invited me to ride on their Road to Victories ride, which is from it's we leave on August the 24th, and we return on August the 31st, I believe.
Wow. So wait a
And
minute.
mhm.
Did they know you was a bike rider or they didn't know?
So I think they found me on Instagram, and they had probably been watching my stories on Instagram, or my reels and videos on Instagram. So, and then I had started following them as well, so I was familiar with them, but totally caught off guard when they had reached out to invite me on this ride. So yeah, it's a 6 day ride. We meet in San Francisco and we ride throughout the California wine country. Um, from there we go. I want to say it's out to the Sonoma coast. There's actually a place called Bodega Bay, I believe.
Mm.
We'll be staying there for a day, and then we'll be going up the coast through the redwood forest, and then back over like I can see it in my mind. I can't really say it, but it. From there, we'll go back over to like above the wine country, and then come back down. But
Nice.
it's a
So how
total
many
of
people usually, do you know how many people gonna is going to be a part of this or
so there's I want to say there's around 20, roughly 20 people that will be a part of this.
okay.
There are probably 6 or 7 people riding who are actually multiple myeloma patients.
How
Uh,
many?
6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the and I met a lot of people that'll be riding on a call we did several weeks ago. A lot of them have had multiple myeloma for a while, and this is um, they've done these type of rides before.
So
So
I would say, um, and like I was saying, I don't want to keep cutting you off,
mhm,
but like I was saying to the people that that's encouraging. You said they've had it for a while, you know, even though
mhm,
we know that you have been walking through your healing process and that kind of shapes it differently than someone that's saying, I still have it. But the fact that it's encouraging to know that so many have come through the process and still living life. They didn't give up on life.
exactly. Um, so that's why this ride is so important to me, because the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation is a big player in helping promote or helping discover, research, and discover clinical trials for multiple myeloma. So, where 5, 10 years ago, there's no, let me say this, there's no cure for multiple myeloma at the moment. So, it's something that you live with for the rest of your life. But organizations like the
Only
multiple,
cure we have
yeah,
is whose report do we believe?
right, yeah,
But I get what you're saying. It's the
um,
grace of God, the mercy of God, the kindness of God, and
yeah,
I'm saying God, but Elohim, that causes us to be healed, walk through our healing as a testimony. And your life to me is a testimony. Um, yeah, I know you're still going through the process,
hmm
but you're going through the process differently because your mindset is different.
Exactly. And I think, and I'm glad you said that, Leslie. So when I was laying in bed that day and I heard that voice, I think that was the thing that shifted me, because there's, you could either walk through something like this, like with that pain, that depressed feeling, moping around, or you can stand in your power and walk through it.
Right.
You we can only choose that. You can only choose that. Well, you choose that for yourself. You know, whether you want to live with this as like some baggage, or you want to actually take it and help others and
So
stand in the power of it.
yeah. So what I think about is something we talk about quite often, and that's the will, free will.
Mm-hmm.
That also fits into that category, the free will to live or the free will to die. The
Yeah.
choice is up to you. And a lot of people, when they hear these, they literally die because they feel like they have no hope. Who
Yeah.
was your hope in?
Were you asking me?
Uh-huh. Who who was your hope in as you went through the process? Because you were able to have family members around you that was able to support you and encourage you and point you back to Elohim. And I believe that that was a lot of your support, um,
Exactly.
being focused, having a focus.
Right. And reminded me that there's purpose. So of course it started with that voice I had laying in bed that day, but it was you, it was others in this community, and Alicia's community, it was family, it was my brother-in-law,
Right. A
who is
big part.
a pastor, yeah,
A
who
big part.
came over and was like a huge, not only my brother, my sister-in-law as well, but they were a huge part of praying and getting me to understand that any healing, any recovery that was going to be made was going to start first right here in my mind. And I think that's when you're faced with something like this, we have the choice. There's that point where you could choose to let this just take you wherever it wants to take you,
Right.
or you could actually gather your mind and stand in power over it, by prayer, meditation, and and just really putting yourself around people who support you, love you, support you. So, just knowing that I had so many people pulling for me, for Alicia, and what we were going through was that motivation, was that fuel that I needed to kind of get through, all of this. And
What you call it, that support system. We
that
all
point,
need
yeah,
a support system.
yeah, yeah,
And if we don't have a support system, sometimes we do fall through the cracks because of it. Um, and when I say fall through the cracks, things, we don't, I guess you could say, survive a lot of things because you don't have that support system.
yeah,
And the support system is very valuable, very important. And I don't want anybody important. I don't want anybody to think that they can live life without a support system. So many people think I can do this by myself. No, not everything you can do by yourself. It takes a village. Like we when we were coming up, or you would hear people say it takes a village.
yeah,
So, this is a prime example of needing a village.
yeah. Definitely, with something like this, you need there the support that we've got, through this process. I mean, we're still going through it, but like the early part of this has been, I can't even describe it. It's I've had a good friend of mine. His daughter would pick me up and take me to chemotherapy times when Alicia couldn't take me. So I mean, there from the start to right now, there has been so many different things, so many different people that have shown up in our lives that have made a huge impact on me and Alicia and I's lot. Alicia
So
and I's
think
lives.
about it though. You guys had to make an impact before this for people to gather and be in a place to
Mm,
want to undergird you.
yeah.
So, you know, you hear, I used to remember the older people saying, they good people. You had to be good people, you know, for people to come along and to undergird you. But I did find a portion, you know, I've been talking about these videos. I did find a portion of one, not the one I wanted, but I do want to share it of your journey. Um,
Okay.
I've been looking hard, Mike.
Oh yeah.
So this is not, well, it takes you.
Wrong day. Wrong day.
So that's just a portion of what an ex-
Yeah,
of your journey.
I haven't seen that one in a while, but it just reminds me. And that was about a year ago. Because it
Was it a year ago?
was today. Well, no, not quite, because I was actually going through the stem cell transplant at this point. But um, I guess early June it would have been a. It was a year, But
Okay.
I just remember there being a month of like there were so many treatments and things that had to happen before
The
the stem
actual,
cell
yeah.
transplant. I was poked, prodded, picked so much. For someone who never had any like health issues, no bone breaks, nothing like that. I've never even really been in the hospital. Um, that reminds me of like that process that I went through. It was almost it was really like a test. It was a test mentally. Um, Thank you for playing that. I haven't seen that one in a long time.
Yeah. I find step like I've seen day one or day two, but there was one that y'all had done, and I'm going to show this as well. You ringing the bell.
Oh yeah.
The
Huh?
hand
And you can
sanitizer.
take your mask off for the photo video.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to be that masked man.
And thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
So one of the things that I think about when I see that, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that your speed, your process was more quicker than they thought it was going to be. Is that correct? That
Uh,
you was
yeah,
in the hospital, you were supposed to be in longer, but you end up not having to be in as long, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Um, again, typically, you know, once they give you the chemotherapy, the doses of chemotherapy, they do the transplant. Getting your immune system, excuse me, getting your immune system back online takes a while because your red blood cell count, your white blood cell count, it all goes to zero. So I want to say it was day 7, day 8, something like that. I couldn't even get out of bed. But the recovery after that, it's and they gave me a chart of how it goes. It's like after the transplant, you feel like you could leave and go home and do all these other different things, but your immune system is steadily going down this incline. And once you get to the bottom, you're like that for a day or two. You can't eat, can't move, can't do much, and then you're gradually going back up. My climb back up to feeling normal again was much shorter than they were expecting. So each time they would come in and see me, they were like, "Wow, you're ahead of schedule." And I think by I was get day 9, day 10, they were like, "Yeah, you'll probably be leaving here in a few days." And I'm like, "Yes," but it definitely did go a lot faster than they were initially expecting, which was great for me because I couldn't have imagined being there in that small room for much longer. Because with the stem cell transplant, you're pretty much isolated.
Yeah, quarantine, right?
Yeah, you're in a um, I forgot what they call it. It's a suite. The stem cell transplant suite it's pretty small and isolated.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead.
So you I could move within my room, and then there was a little small room that had a little TV and a exercise bike and a treadmill that I could go to. That was pretty much it. And I would definitely have not been used to that type of isolation. So 12 days for me was mhm.
You said they had it, so they wanted you on a treadmill.
Well,
You
there
was
was a
able
treadmill.
to get on a treadmill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So after the transplant, you can still no, I still could actually get up, walk, and do all these other things. Most times I would be connected to some pole where I could take the pole wherever
I
I
did.
went, and get in a treadmill. They had a bike in there, board games and stuff like that. That was pretty much for 12 days. That was all I would do.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a part of the process that I'll never forget. I mean, all of this I'll never
What
forget.
about it?
The isolation and not being able to leave. Um, you know, the I was at the University of Maryland hospital down in Baltimore, and this was during summer, of course. And my hospital room, it seemed like it was right on top of the building. See, I guess yeah, I was on the ninth floor, so I don't think there was a floor above me. And every helicopter that came in to that hospital passed my room. So it was difficult to sleep at night,
Yeah.
not feeling too well, and then having that. So I pretty much dealt with that for that period. Um, you know, the baseball stadium, the Baltimore Orioles baseball stadium was like right outside
Oh
my
yeah.
window.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sitting there just looking at all of this stuff happening and just really wanting to get back to normal life. But
Freedom.
exactly. But that moment in time gave me a lot of time to reflect, to think, really to plan, like what this next phase or next chapter of my life would be. Um, so I think also around that same time is when I decided that hey, you need to you need to you need to figure out what your purpose is, and you need to really go after it. Because when something like this happens, it's almost as though I felt that I didn't have much time. I mean, quite honestly, that's the feeling that I had. So when I got the diagnosis, I was automatically thinking, okay, we have another year to live. If I have another year, I just didn't know. You never, know. That's where your mind goes. When you
Right.
get some type of diagnosis like that, and then especially the doctor saying, "Hey, there's no treatment for this. There's no cure for this." So it just felt like I really needed to not waste time anymore, to figure out what my purpose was and go get it. And I'm still on that path of finding what the ultimate purpose is, but I definitely believe it's in inspiring others who are walking through challenges. It doesn't have to be a cancer diagnosis.
Right.
Life doesn't have to get to that point for you to realize that something needs to change in your life, and that regardless of what you're going through, you can go through it. I truly believe that God is only going to put you in situations that you were built to handle. There's nothing that you'll go through that you weren't prepped or prepared for.
Right. Right.
And sometimes that's kind of hard to think about when you're actually going through something. But we're much stronger than we think we are. We have so much power in us. Um, and I truly believe a big part of my purpose is really helping others see that, through my videos, through, me actually opening my mouth and speaking and telling people about, my story, my journey. And yeah, I think that's part of the purpose. So me doing this ride in August is not necessarily the kickstart or the start of this, but I think it really highlights what I'll be doing in this chapter of my life.
Yeah.
So I
Um,
you know I tell people I'm doing a ride in August, and the caveat to it, I always have to remind myself to say I'm not yeah I'm riding, but I'm riding for multiple myeloma. I'm riding for a cure. And like I was about to, I think I started saying a little while ago, 5 or 10 years ago, there weren't as many clinical trials and options available. So people were living a few years, 5 years with multiple myeloma, before running out of options.
wow.
So now, you start with the stem cell transplant, and there are so many other trials and clinical trials available to go through before you get to the point where there's nothing available. There's so there's so many options out here today, and you know organizations like the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation is behind a lot of that. So that's why I'm writing to help myself, but more importantly to
Yeah.
help others behind me.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I thank you for coming on. I thank you for saying yes to come on. I think that this is the topic, and like you said, it's not just the journey of having cancer, it's whatever journey you on to know that you can make it, that you don't have to lay down and die, that you don't have to be hopeless.
Yeah,
When we're hopeless, that's when things usually go the opposite direction.
yeah.
So thank you so much. I don't know if there's any um, last words you want to say. If you really want to, I did put in the description your Facebook page and how they can get in touch with you to support, or I don't know if you're going to have a ministry that is geared to people that can call you and you can encourage them and walk them through the process. But uh, yeah, I hopefully if somebody's out there, they'll like their back is against the wall, that they would reach out to you,
Yeah.
and even in this case, and you know,
Yeah, no, that's so true. Cancer is it's the chapter of my life right now, but you know, there are other things that I've been through, that you've been through, and that others have been through, that are just as painful. Um, and I want to be able to help anyone going through whatever it is.
yeah,
It could be the loss of a parent, or anything. You can get through that, and that's who I how I want to help, be able to help people. So
Yeah, and it's so important. It is needed.
yeah.
So listen, everybody, thank you for being here. I hope I didn't talk too much, and you wanted to say something, and I
No,
ran.
no, not at all.
You
Thank you for having me.
know, one thing I remember um, Alicia saying that the doctor in the beginning was there long enough to get you the help that you needed to get, and then she was have gone moved on or something like that. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you should say that. The and this was the doctor, my um, primary care physician, who actually started this entire process. She passed me along to the people that I needed to see, and everyone has been great. I've had great doctors. Um, so I think it was earlier this year I was going back in and just following up with her, and found out that she was leaving the practice, and Alicia and I pretty much hit the floor. And then of course she left, and we could not find her or where she went. But we just received in the mail, I think it was last week, that she is still in our medical net.
Circulation.
Yeah, yeah, she's still in our medical network. So we're going to
Wow.
be reaching out and reconnecting, going back to her. I'm not sure where she
Oh,
is.
that's awesome because I know
Yeah,
Alicia said she was trying to find her. That's amazing.
yeah,
I
yeah. She
love
was a
that.
big part of this process, and I have 100% confidence in her and the care that she gives. So yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you, Mike, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with the guest on Leslie's Lessons Learned, just to educate us, just to bring awareness to us. And please, uh, when does the race start again? It's in August, right? Or
yeah.
September?
August the 24th, we leave on August the 24th. Oh, I had to fly out to San Francisco, and then on the 24th we head out.
Okay. So listen, you have what's today? You have almost a month to support, and I hope that you would support. Any amount would help uh, to encourage our brother as he goes across. I want to say across country.
Someone asked me that yesterday. He said, "Well, you riding to San Francisco?" I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not riding to San Francisco." I know I said I wanted to ride across country, but this is not a
That's
cross
not it.
country
That's
ride. Yeah, this is not that.
right, right,
But yeah,
right.
this is the beginning. Of course, I still have that dream, that goal of doing that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that, but Lord willing, I will one day. This is the train up to being able to doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And we've been watching you train. You've been uh, showing us pictures of you training and stuff. And I'm like, okay, Mike, I'm going to let you be right there. And I'm going to end with one of your other, if I can stop it for a minute. We're going to end with this, and it's him training for this event that's coming up. But we thank each and every one of you for being here. If you have not yet hit the like sign, subscribe, or share, please do so. This is here to encourage someone else. And if you were blessed, please reach out to Mike and let him know that you were blessed by his testimony.
Focus on the moment. One step, one breath, one heartbeat at a time.
So, yeah, focus on the moment, as he said,
yeah.
one breath, one step at a time. And so it doesn't matter what you're going through. Remember, you can make it. Tammy Faye used to sing that song, Jim Baker's wife. You can make it. It don't. I don't care what you're going through. You can make it. And we want you to know to be encouraged today because you can make it. Oral Roberts used to say all the time, he said, God is greater than any problem I have. And I used to say, He is greater than any situation I have. And I want you to know today, He is greater than anything you're going through. Trust Him, believe Him, stand on His word, and you will be able to see the victory. So until we see you, I'll meet you again Sunday on Leslie's Lessons Learned at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, have an amazing weekend. And remember, no, we're not singing. You can make it. You know who that is, right?
Right. Yeah.
You guys have an amazing day. Love you guys and